sponsored by Crandall's Home Furnishings and Carpets Unlimited. I'm Scott Hagerman. With me is Jim Pickens. And Jim, we have week 1 of the high school football playoffs last week, and we rapidly decreased in the number of teams we still have in it. And I'm not sure how big a surprise that was.
I don't think it was too big a surprise, but it's still a jolt a little bit, Scott, when it goes from like 6 to 1 in 1 week. And we had 5 wiped out, and most of them were wiped out by lopsided scores. And, I mean, it's turned out to be one of those years where it is what it is, and overall it wasn't much in our area, just to be frank.
Well, let's get to the clips, and we're going to start out with Grayson County coming into Rash Stadium to play the Owensboro Red Devils. On paper, this was probably the best matchup of the weekend. You had Grayson County coming in ranked number 9 in 5A, and you have Owensboro ranked number 10. There's a little rivalry history between these two. Owensboro had taken out Grayson last year in the same scenario. But, boy, it was a little bit different story this year. Grayson wins 28-22, and I'm really not – I think it's one of those games where you say it didn't really feel that close on – as you were watching it.
Yeah, we were both there. And Grayson County did exactly what they intended to do coming into this game, Scott. They controlled the game on the ground, and by so doing, they controlled the clock. They limited Owensboro's touches, and Grayson County rolled up 355 yards rushing, which is a really big total on Owensboro at home. This is a good Owensboro defense, which tells you how good Grayson County is. I mean, this is a quality football team. I think you came away feeling that too. Well coached, bunch of seniors. They've got 20 seniors, and it felt like that out there. You could just feel the veteran atmosphere for Grayson County, and you could just tell that they were not going to be denied in this game.
No, I mean, you can put whatever spin you want on it. Grayson simply looked like the hungrier team in this game. I mean, I just thought they were the ones that were flying to the ball more.
Right.
Just showing more emotion in general all around.
Yep.
And I'm not going to say that surprised me, and I think there's multiple issues here. I think anytime a team has had a season that didn't meet their expectations, and there's no question, nobody can spin it for me, Owensboro did not meet the expectations they had going into this season.
Right.
There's no question about that. They dealt with some injuries. There was that aspect. And Grayson just had more, in a sense, to play for here.
Yep.
Owensboro's been there. They've done that.
Yep.
They're the favorite. Grayson's the team that's trying to show something here.
Yep.
And I think all those factors just culminated in what you saw on the field.
Yeah, and another thing, I talked to Coach Ed Smart. You know Ed. We're all buddies from way back. He used to coach at McLean County, and Ed told me that he really put that 49-21 score of last year's game in their heads and said, look, we're a lot better than that. We came over here and laid an egg last year. Let's go out and show people what quality Grayson County football is really all about, and I thought that the Cougars delivered.
They really did. I guess I knew Grayson had a really nice running game. Was surprised, though, they were able to hit for that many yards.
Yep.
But I tell you, they're not as just one-dimensional from a power aspect as I think we saw or were anticipating.
Exactly.
When they got outside, they could get to the outside.
They really did. They had 2 or 3 running backs, Scott, who had very surprising speed from my standpoint. I didn't expect that, and I'm not sure Owensboro expected that. I'm not sure you can see that on film. Just watching it live like we did, boy, they were getting to the corners pretty quick, and once they turned the corner, they could make a 15, 25-yard run just like that, and it was a great compliment to their inside game with Bertram. The fullback was outstanding.
Right. Well, I want to give Ed Smart congratulations and all the Cougars because it's a big deal to beat Owensboro when you're Grayson County. It really is.
Yes, sir. Sir. You better
been
believe
a lot of times they haven't been able to do it.
And that's a tribute to Owensboro when we say it.
Yes.
I mean, it's absolutely a tribute.
It speaks to the tradition that Owensboro has built.
And I'll say one other thing. From Grayson County's standpoint, you've got to be happy for them in a way, and here's why. They're in a brutal district. They're in a district with Warren Central and Bowling Green, and 2 years in a row they've fallen as the 3rd team in their own district and ranked in the top 10 in the state, which tells you how, that's absolutely brutal when you're 3rd in your district and you're still in the top 10 in the state. But they move on, and, it's a tribute to the Cougars that they do.
Well, let's look at the bright spot that we had this past weekend, and that was Reidland coming into Owensboro Catholic Steel Stadium. And, this was a game where, again, I think we anticipated Catholic being really, really just too dominant for Reidland And that's really what we wound up getting.
Yeah, this game was over really quick. Reidland made a bunch of mistakes early, which you cannot do on the road against a high-powered offensive team, and Catholic made them pay for it, Scott. And this game was really over. I kept giving you the scores. I was listening to a little bit of it on radio, and I mean, what was it, 3 or 4 touchdown game by the end of the first quarter, and this game was over quickly. Catholic just has far too much firepower for Reidland.
Yeah, there's a lot of things Catholic did in this game that was impressive from an offensive and defensive standpoint. But I think the thing that impressed me most, and I talked to John Edge about this yesterday morning, was even a team that's inferior to you, to dominate them as much as Catholic dominated Reidland, you had to come out really mentally ready, mentally focused. Right. And there's no question, Catholic came out. Yeah. They wanted to make a statement in this that they're not overlooking anybody. That's right. They're taking every game as it comes, and they just blasted Reidland right out of the bat. And I think that speaks very highly for their potential going forward.
Well, it does, and it also speaks about their maturity, Scott, because the week before, Coach Edge had been pretty upset about their focus against Davis County. That's a city-county game, and he felt like that they came out and really didn't deliver like they can as far as, they just weren't sharp. And he challenged them throughout the week in practice to come back against Reidland with the playoff, scenario starting and to be focused and determined, and the Aces certainly did that against the Greyhounds.
I'm going to give, some credit here to some different people. One, John Edge. John Edge candidly admitted going into this season that they truly needed a bounce-back year after having been down a couple of years. Boy, he's directed this team magnificently. Isaac Hardesty has stepped in at quarterback and just done a phenomenal job. Yeah. And then there's so many weapons. Braylon Dixon, Masden Riney, Zach Brett, Ryan Hogg, Russell Hayden, several on the defensive side. Sure. Alec Bonnick, Alex Thompson, Paul Lopez. Yep. They're just everywhere. I mean, this is as true a complete team as I think we've seen in quite a while.
Well, it reminds me of so many of these great teams from the past that we have covered through the years, Scott, with Catholic. They certainly did bounce back, and they have showed that, this is really what they want representing their program, this type of play, and they've been, exceptional all year. I mean, they're 10-1 now, and on a big time roll. And yes, they deserve a lot of credit because this team was just 3-8 a year ago. And one thing I want to mention, from a group standpoint, we always fixate on their offense, which is easy to do because there's so many weapons there. This team's defense has come further than any team's by far all year. I mean, this team's defense was a little bit shaky in the early going, but Catholic really has it shored up now, and they're just playing outstanding all-around football.
Catholic's lone loss this year came to Owensboro early in the season. I wish we could kind of pick games that we could go back and watch again and have a rematch, because I think if you put Catholic against Owensboro right now, I think I would probably have to pick Catholic at this point. I think they've improved that much.
Yeah, and Cal had a big game against Catholic. It needs to be pointed out, and Cal's not even with Owensboro now, so that would make that, if you played them right now, that would be a completely different scenario coming into that game.
But even if you played Catholic the way they're playing now with Owensboro like they were playing then, I think you've got a real toss-up. I just think Catholic has improved that much.
I do too. That's what I was talking about, especially their defense. I think they've known that they were going to be a good offensive team. I think the question in Coach Edge's mind was is this defense going to really fly to the football like we've seen Catholic play in the past? And it turns out they did. Yes. By the end of the year, this team was as aggressive and as quick to the ball as any we saw.
Well, we're going to take a quick break, and we've got a lot more to talk about when we get back.